Hey everybody, welcome back. In today's video, I want to have a look at Chainlink. Now, I'm very happy with Chainlink because about a month ago, I made a video on Chainlink and we're revisiting it today. And I basically said that it looks like this pattern forming here is a Wyckoff. And if you're not sure what a Wyckoff is, you can check out that video. But the quick explanation is that oftentimes with particular types of Wyckoff, with the Wyckoff I was expecting, we often see we drop from a high level. We have a big sell-off. And then the asset fluctuates within a range for a long period of time, usually over a year. And in that time, it doesn't have to play out in this exact order, but we often see a high, and sometimes it puts in that high again. So it sets this range, it puts in this high, and then we put in a low, and we retest that low. Then we put in a lower high, and we test it again, put in a lower high, and then we put in a lower low. And oftentimes when you see this lower low in the Wyckoff, you can expect a big pump out. Now this didn't happen the first rally, and when we made our video, we were somewhere around here and we were saying this hadn't quite played out. But I said most likely, we'd rallied up. I said we'll probably come back down to this range, and then we'll probably dip down back below. I thought we'd come back down to this lower low, because if you see here before, we have 3, we have 2, we have 2. I was expecting another 2 here. I was expecting us to come back down, but ultimately we broke out earlier. And this orange box sort of pre-exists. I've set it for a wider range, and this isn't just a random number. It was because back here, when we first started getting data from Chainlink, we saw that we didn't really have a Well, you could argue this is a Wyckoff because we have a high, a low, a high, a high, back to a low, a high, a low, and then we break out. It's kind of a bit more of a grayer Wyckoff, but not as clear cut as this one. And I said this lasted for about 600 days, I think, if I remember correctly. Yeah, 600-ish days this went on for. So I drew this box for a similar amount of time, and even though it obviously didn't play out that long, it only took us 540 days, give or take, to break out of this range. So it broke out earlier, but ultimately the same thing happened. And that's why I thought we'd probably have this lower low. We had the time to break back down one more time and then rally out. But ultimately it doesn't matter. And I'm very happy that I kind of spotted this and pointed it out to you guys, because if you guys had tried to pick up some Link at that time, you would have made a lot of money if you'd have held it until now. However, I do think we are sort of topping out at this range. We can see here that like the Wyckoff will form a U, funnily enough, a bowl, not the same type of bowl that we were talking about in the Algorand video. This one's over a much longer period of time, but still sort of the same principle, where we sort of, we have our high that we drop from, spend a long time oscillating, but we put in our indicators that show we could be a Wyckoff, and then once we finally break out of this range, we break out spectacularly. I think I literally said that word for word, will most likely break out spectacularly and come back to this level here. Now there is a chance we keep going. I think we will keep going over a longer period of time, but I think we will see a pullback first. If we take a look at this here, you can see I've also drawn these numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4. I think we might see something like this play out again, where we have our rally up, and it kind of depends as well what you think. Well, first of all, actually, before I say this, I want to say that the time frame that we broke out from was much longer, further away from the halving compared to where we are now. We had about a year here where we broke out from. Here we have about less than 6 months, basically, or around 6 months. So if this is going to play out similarly, it's got to happen over a more condensed period of time. So it will be much more volatile during this time. So what we might see, first of all, one thing I want to point out is this level 1 here. We can either say this is our level 1 or this is our level 1. I think most likely it'll be something like this. Now I could put another leg up and that could be our level 1. I doubt it. I think we'll see a move like this play out, and I'm personally currently leaning towards this being our level 1. And then we see that we drop down to a level 2. I think this sort of move could be our level 2. I know it's nearly not really a drop down, but I think, like, again, diminishing volatility over cycles, I think this is sort of just a similar move, and especially in a more condensed time frame, I just don't think this happened. I think also, like, with the general bullish narrative over this time as well, I don't think we were likely to see big sell-offs during this time. So I think this could be our 1. This little sell-off could be our number 2. and then we could have seen this as our number 3. And then soon we might see another pullback to this range, at this $12 range, and that could be our number 4. It doesn't have to play out like that. It could play out staggered another level up. So we could see another leg up be our level 1, a pullback to here being our level 2, another leg up being level 3, and another pullback being level 4, where we ultimately end up somewhere around the initial level 1. It's kind of up to you to interpret on that. I have no way of knowing really which way it's going to play out. But I'm just proud that I sort of nailed this on the head. Not that it was too difficult, but I'm glad I spotted it, and hopefully it helped you guys. But ultimately I have been left very bullish on Link, very bullish. And also another reason of that is because of its performance on its BTC pair. And I think I have a very interesting take on Link and where it might be headed. And it might not follow the 4-year cycle. And I know that sounds very weird, but I would like to wait and point out my stuff. Also, we broke out of here in May of 2019. It's now, October of 2023. So it took us a lot longer to break out of this range, even though we were in this range for a shorter period of time. So if we followed the 4-year cycle, we should have entered here much earlier. And then we should have broken out much earlier. So like we should have broken out around this time, but we should have entered somewhere around here, before even. Again, it's like, it's strange. Link hasn't reacted the same way other alts have reacted to the 4-year cycle. And if we take a look at our Bitcoin pair, this does say a similar thing. Now, before I get into that, I do want to thank today's sponsor, which is FairDesk. FairDesk is an exchange, and if you're interested, you can click the link in the description for a 5% deposit bonus. And with no KYC, you can start trading straight away. And Link is available on FairDesk, so check that out. Maybe pick some up there. It helps out the channel, so that'll be really cool. If we have a look at Link on its BTC pair, and I think this is really, really, really interesting. Here we can see that these 3 lines, they've been cloned over, so they're the same. And we can see that it basically played out a similar way. I initially drew these lines first, and then I moved these over, and these sort of fit this time range, but not well. I mean, we obviously have breakouts here, and these highs break above this red, but it gives us like a sort of understanding of how they were similar. Again, diminishing volatility. If you were to move these out in maybe a percentage, spread them open more, like at this angle here, maybe you might get a more accurate picture. You probably would. But ultimately we see that this time when we have data from Link, we see that it spends about a year going sideways, but it goes sideways with extremes, you know what I mean? Its displacement is 0, but its travel distance is huge, if you understand that. So we have like big ups, big drops, big ups, and then rallying around the place. And I would ultimately call this a negative time period for Link. And this is the year after the bull run. So here we can see bull run, actually during the 2017 bull run, for the data that we have of Link on its BTC pair, it goes down really badly against Bitcoin. And then after the bull run, Link picks up. And in 2019, it ends at almost a 900% move up from where it started that year, from 2017. So if we go from, sorry, not 2017, from 2018 to 2019, if we take that for us for 2022, we can see that we actually go down. Well, yeah, we go down during this time, and we go down 25%. So we can already see here that Link isn't really following its own rules during this time period, but that's if you're assuming Link is following the 4-year cycle. If you want to take a look at its own separately, forget the 4-year cycle exists, we can see that Link spends about a year, give or take, going sideways, sorting itself out. It goes down, okay? Link then spends roughly 2 years, just over 2 years going up, and it peaks after about 2 years, 2 months, 3 months. After those 2 years, Link then goes sideways for 3 years, basically. I'll put it from June of 2023. So now if you take a look at Link from maybe the start of this rally to where it goes sideways, or where it starts to pick up, which is maybe where we consume this bit here is equivalent to this bit here, we have a asset that has moved in a cycle over a period of 1,788 days, which is somewhere around 5 years, give or take. It is close to 5 years, much closer to 5 years than it is 4 years. So then you have to kind of question, well, why is Link performing differently to the rest of the market? And to be honest with you, I don't know, but it has performed very differently. Like even the fact that Link didn't peak during 2021 on its Bitcoin pair. Link performed poorly during the bull run year against Bitcoin. Now it did well on its USD pair, but if you take a look at Link from basically August of 2020 where it peaked until the end of 2021, 2022, Link did terribly. It went down 80% during the bull run year on its Bitcoin pair. This doesn't make sense. If you take a look at any other altcoin, they all explode on their Bitcoin pairs during this time. So first of all, like Bullrun does poorly against Bitcoin. I would consider a red flag, but that's if you're just looking to make money and putting your money in altcoins during the bull run. If you were to put your money, say, into Link once we saw this push up, you made huge money. You made 3,300%, which is really good. And that's considering you're not even in a bull run on your Bitcoin pair. So, you know, your USD pair is most likely going to be better if the general market was good during this time. Now, the general market wasn't good for the whole of this time, but it was good towards the end of this time. And if we swap back to the USD pair, we can see that when did we take that value from? September 18 up until August of 2020. If we go from September 18 to August 2020, you can see that you made good money. You went up 1,300% on your USD pair, but you did much better if you were holding Link compared to BTC. BTC didn't do well it did well, but it didn't do much during this time. In our BTC video, where we take a look at market dominance, BTC kind of just goes sideways. I mean, it ends the year higher than where it started the year, but it doesn't do anything amazing. It just sort of sits where it is. Link actively goes up on its Bitcoin pair. And it does this, again, I will point this out, it does this for 2 years. And then it spends 3 years going down against Bitcoin. And we see a similar move on its USD, but instead of only like, it goes up on its USD for 2 years, and then it goes down and sideways for, you know, a similar length of time. It goes down and sideways for about 2 years. So on its USD pair, it seems to be playing out the same. But on its Bitcoin pair, it doesn't play out the same. So it kind of comes down to, my proposition is that, does Link follow this time frame, and does it go up for 2 years? Or does it lose a year somewhere, so it fits into the 4-year cycle? And to do that, Link would have to go up here for only 1 year. Because if you take a look at this date, Link started going up in August of 2018, which was a year ago now. So Link, if it was to fit into the 4-year cycle on its Bitcoin pair, should have been going up around here, this sort of time, from this point on. And of course it didn't. It actually went down for most of that time, and it's only recently rallied above. So it's where you want to consider it. Do you consider it where it breaks out from this range, and now it does 2 years? Or do you consider it as a 4-year cycle where, okay, we just broke out much later, and now it only has a year until 2025, and then we'll see a similar move like this where, you know, basically a year from now we'll see Link top out on its Bitcoin pair, and then it will go sideways and break down. It's an interesting proposition. I am actually kind of leaning a bit towards Link doing its own thing, not following the 4-year, even though it does seem to follow its 4-year on its USD pair. We can see 2 years up, 2 years down from this sort of breakout. It is interesting. Even though it is over 2 years by a bit, that's fine. It is interesting. It is interesting. But that kind of wraps it up for this video, to be honest with you. So in conclusion, maybe Link is a good hedge for this next year, better than Bitcoin. It was last cycle. It was a much better hedge than Bitcoin last cycle. As we can see, it goes up. But during the bull run, it didn't do as well. if you believe that Link is doing its 5-year cycle, then you would hold Link from now until for 2 years. So you'd hold it through 2024 till the end of 2025. And then we'd see Link play out like this again, where it would go down on its Bitcoin pair. Or you believe that Link will only go up for 1 year and not outperform Bitcoin again during the bull run. So basically, if you believe the 5-year, you believe Link will outperform Bitcoin during the bull run, next bull run, coming bull run. If you believe the 4-year and we need to lose a year to fit into the 4-year cycle, you think Link will do well either this year, most likely this year, because this is where we've had the breakout, and then perform poorly against Bitcoin during the bull run in 2025. That's kind of TLDR, summarizing it up. So yeah, let me know down in the comments which one you think is going to play out and why. Also, do you think this 1, 2, 3, 4 pattern is playing out now, or do you think we have another leg up to go? Let me know down below. And if you did enjoy the video and found it useful, please maybe consider subscribing. Really helps out the channel. And a like as well, it shows it to other people, which again boosts the channel's growth, which in turn helps me a lot. Thanks very much, guys. Take care and peace.